Welcome back to Between the Edits. Today, I am really excited to have a session with Lynda. She is from Tertulia.com, and we're going to get into all of that fun stuff. But first, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the listeners.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Grace, for having me. My name is Lynda Hammes. I'm based here out of Brooklyn, New York. I'm one of three co-founders of Tertulia and Tertulia for Authors, and can't wait to tell you more about what we do.
Perfect. Okay, so let's start off with Tertulia, right? So, how did this start? I understand that it is a co-op bookstore, and that's Tertulia specifically. And then you guys have an arm of it that's going to be for Tertulia for authors that are specific softwares, programs, things that are designed to help authors with that publishing journey.
You got it. So
Perfect.
on the reader side, Tertulia.com is a co-op bookstore and a discovery app that services books that readers are buzzing about through social media, podcast mentions, book recommendations online, reviews, awards.
Hmm.
On the author side, Tertulia for Authors, which launched earlier this year, um, I guess the easiest way to describe it is that we make it dead simple to build a professional website for an author in minutes so that writers can spend less time wrestling with tech and more time connecting with their readers. So Tertulia, the bookstore, is at tertulia.com, and Tertulia for Authors, you can find us at authors.tertulia.com.
Perfect. Okay. And I actually did a demo with you for Tertulia for Authors, the website builder, and I agree. It's really simple. As someone who built my own website using one of like the traditional platform websites and website builders, I spent hours working on that and all the little things that are glitchy and like weird and having to figure out the design and building it all yourself and doing the demo with you guys and getting to see that you built a website right in front of me live and it was honestly great. So that was really, really cool. Let's spend a little bit of time talking about Tertulia.com. So you are one of three co-founders. What started this mission?
So, coming out of the pandemic, which, as we all remember, was a time of great reflection about how we spend our days, how we spend our work, what kind of meaningful work that we want to do, I connected with an old friend who is now my co-founder and our CEO, Sebastian Pilic. And he was exploring the idea of what would become Tertulia.com with a venture studio and sort of playing around with this idea that there was no delightful place online to discover and buy books. Now we know Amazon, the 900-pound gorilla in the room, is great when you know exactly what you want,
Right.
like toilet paper or light bulbs, and maybe even a book that you know exactly what you need. It's not great for discovery, and it never has been. And there are other places. There are, of course, local brick and mortar stores that we know and love. I used to work in one of them. I shop in them. We are passionate about them. But so many people live in either book deserts or have become so accustomed coming out of the pandemic, especially into the habit of e-commerce. And we just felt like there was a huge untapped opportunity. And there's a few other angles that were really important to us in founding Tertulia.com. One of them was capturing book talk, but personalizing it for you. So we feel really strongly that we have all these different cultural signals and all this, podcasts you don't have time to listen to, and influencers that you don't want to be following on Instagram because you're trying to cut down your Instagram time. But book recommendations are the most wholesome content on the internet, right? I mean, it
Right.
really is. Okay, put down your phone now and go get the book. So we felt like capturing all of that in one potent experience was what we wanted to do. And the other side of it, of that coin, is personalization. So we built a pretty awesome personalization engine based on, a few things, both what you've clicked on and what you've bought, but also our own Tertulia score around the, recommendations that we think are meaningful and of quality and thought. And but we also do, a ton of human curation. And frankly, we find a lot of the work that the human, the articles and the lists that we run that are made by humans,
Hmm.
and that's my team, but also um, authors. Readers love getting book recommendations from authors. So we do invite authors to recommend books on the platform. are really meaningful to people. So just as meaningful as the personalized picks. So we invest a lot in that experience. And the other angle that we felt was important was um, the business model and um, the approach to ownership, I guess I would say. And our feeling was that people don't feel connected to
Mm-hmm.
their purchases online in general, but certainly not at Amazon. And in fact, in the ensuing year since we launched Tertulia, there's been perhaps even more of a backlash in that area where people don't particularly want to support Amazon. And we leaned into the age-old concept of co-ops. The Tertulia co-op is set up as follows. It's a consumer co-op that follows the model of REI, if you're familiar with that brand, whereby members in the co-op get special benefits. So in the case of Tertulia, the benefits that you get as a member are unlimited free shipping, 10% off all books, which escalates to 20% off after you hit a certain spending floor, which our customers do because they're such avid readers, and tons of special sales. We do special sales on a weekly basis, if not more frequently, for National Book Awards or genre roundups, paperback sales, etc. So lots of great perks. You also get invited to special events, giveaways, art giveaways. So it's really special for avid readers, and I don't see any other bookstore online that has such reliable discounts, including on new hardcovers. So those are great perks. And then we've also got a special partnership with the Bellatrix Book Club that was founded 7, 8 years ago now by Kara Priest and Emma Roberts. And you sign up for Bellatrist and you get a book to your mailbox every month, curated by the Bellatrist team. And you get to join an in-person, you get to join a Zoom book club where you get to discuss the book not only with the club, but with the author. So that's been a really special initiative that we started just about a year ago. So that's the short story of Tertulia.com. We've done tons of experimentation using our world-class tech team, and we were the first American retailer in the TikTok shop for books.
Oh, cool.
Um, yeah, so we have a TikTok shop where you can purchase books as you would on Tertulia.com, but through shoppable links in
Hmm.
videos from publishers and from authors and from readers and influencers and creators. So that's been a really fun initiative. We've also done an event series where we invite editors to come talk about the exciting books coming out the following season, and our members get a chance to get a advanced review copy of those books. So really, take every opportunity to lean into the experience of discovering books online in a delightful way.
Yeah, I really am excited by that. This idea of not only just providing an alternative, right, to some of the mainstream kind of book shopping experiences that, maybe aren't as specific or close to home and all that kind of stuff, but this discovery aspect. Um, So really working with other readers, even authors you guys mentioned, to really personalize book recommendations for people. And so just for clarification on my part, so you said you wanted to capture book talk. Is there any interest in like Bookstagram as well? And how do you guys utilize those two? Because I would say that from my experience, that's where a lot of people get their book recommendations from, because it's what you guys are talking about, which is people who you like their reading preferences, and so then you follow them to get what they're reading as recommendations for you. And we've seen how that has just exploded with independent publishing and how accessible it is to be an independent author nowadays. There's so many books to go around, and finding that niche, right, or niche, however pronounce it, for as an author to market your book to find your audience, right? You could say that there's the same perspective for the readers of finding the books you like. And some readers, they're like, I'll read everything. But I really love this idea that you guys have. It sounds like a really great engine for of getting those personalizations. So to round out my question here, can you speak a little bit about, because I think that's where a lot of my listeners are going to be coming from, is like the book talk and the bookstagram. what does Tertulia.com do for like a membership for a reader that gets them that same feel?
Yes, I agree. Bookstagram is quite possibly the best thing about Instagram, if you ask me. And we do our team of, and our team of curators spends time in Bookstagram finding those gem
Yeah.
book recommendations, gem mentions that you may follow the person, as you said, because you love their taste in books, or you may not, and you may discover that you love following them through Tertulia. So we pull those out. We also just pull out, you don't have to be Oprah or Dua Lipa or uber famous to be giving a really solid, passionate book recommendation.
Right.
And a lot of the people that we feature too are authors, journalists, critics who you may not recognize them, but they're just incredibly um, poised and passionate in the way that they recommend books. So
Right. Yeah.
that's a big important part of Tertulia as well.
I love that you guys are getting book recommendations from authors and using that in your personalization engine because as like, I've spoken with many independent authors at this point. I love to write myself. Like it's not new advice, but it's good advice. And that is if you want to write well, you have to read well. So hearing the books that authors love, and if you love that author, that's a super strong aspect that I don't know that many people, kind of really key into that the way that you guys are.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the special things about Tertulia.com. We thought for a long time, Grace, about whether or not we should incorporate user-generated content, user-generated reviews.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, Goodreads, also the 900-pound gorilla, is, very kind of early on saturated that space. You've got StoryGraph, you've got lots of platforms where anybody can make a recommendation. And I think that's wonderful. And all those vibrant communities of book talk. But we decided very intentionally that what we wanted to do in order to keep the quality of discussion at a certain level, because moderation is always a consideration with
Mm,
these
right.
communities and making sure that the conversation is constructive, positive, quality, thoughtful. We focused on authors. And we did that partially for that reason of just keeping the discussion thoughtful and high quality, and partially because we see that authors really love to give recommendations. Often they
Hmm.
don't even want to promote themselves and their book publicly, or they're less comfortable than promoting other authors that they love. And so they're really passionate about that. And as you said, readers love hearing what their favorite author has to say, or kind of expanding their horizons after reading a book by an author they love and seeing what
Right.
influenced that author.
Yeah.
So that was a very intentional choice.
Yeah. And I mean, I totally see what you're talking about with just my experiences being on Bookstagram and all those kinds of spaces of um, I don't think I can even recall a single moment or post or anything like that where it was like a like competitive mean environment. Like authors and anyone in that space, they're all super supportive of each other and just being super considerate, all those things. Like it seems to be a very welcoming space. So I love that. So that's a little bit of what the reader experience is like. How do you guys work with your authors whose books you stock in the store or doing that kind of stuff? Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yes, we love collaborating with authors. We have done hundreds of pre-order campaigns arranged directly with authors or their agents and publishers.
Hmm.
And what we do there is as you know, the pre-order period is very important for an author to get their community of readers excited about the book, to
Right.
amplify the marketing the book in advance. And we give them a discount that we invest in. This is all at no cost to the author or the publisher. We give them a discount for a period of time, and we give them very cute graphics from that are in line with the gorgeous design of Tertulia done by my co-founder Robert. And they can share those assets in their social media promotion, their email list, their e-newsletter, their Substacks, etc. And everybody is price sensitive now, right? Like those discounts are meaningful. And so in the process of working with authors on that, giving them a platform to share their book recommendations and some other other collaborations we've done with authors, we often do interviews or highlight authors' books and excerpts, etc. We really thought about a little over a year ago about how we could start using our technology team to solve more problems for authors. Because to a person, every author that I know
Hmm.
has the pressure of not just writing, which is challenging and some would say
Right.
agony, writing their books, but promoting them as well. And there's the running refrain of, I'm a writer, I'm not a marketer, or my
Yes.
publisher isn't doing all of the promotion that I hope that they would. Or even if the publisher is doing a lot for their author, there's an infinite amount of effort that goes into putting yourself out there into the world when you write your book. And it's not easy. And
Mhm.
it's can be scary for some authors, and it's a lot of work. And now in the world of Substack, there's a additional expectation for some authors that they're a one-person media company on top of writing their books. And
Right.
we just felt that the technology solutions out there are fragmented. As you probably know, Grace, there's a ton of scams out there that target
Yes.
authors. Right
Hmm.
this week, there's been news about one scam happening where the the sad con artist in this case is contacting authors in the guise of being a celebrity book club and
Mm.
offering feature them in exchange for money. There's just so much out there that
Right.
makes it more difficult. And we did some experimentation in various tools, all of which were kind of keeping moving, social media promotion tools, email marketing tools. And the first product that we went out of the gate with in April, with great success so far, is a website builder. And the reason that we chose the website builder is because, well, a few reasons. One is that we believe heartily that every author needs a website.
Hmm.
They need to own their plot of land, they need to own their audience and generate that audience in their own by their own terms. And we think social media is, of course, important and crucial, but social media platforms come and go, algorithms shift,
Yes.
and we feel really strongly that having that one true home for your author brand, if you want to call it that, your author home, your home for your books, is crucial. We
Hmm.
can talk more about that, but the thought that we had about this, Grace, is that there was no there was no solution out there that was both easy, affordable, and professional.
Hmm.
We saw a long spectrum where on one side of the spectrum, authors were hiring a freelancer or an agency, spending a lot of money to create a website,
Hmm.
and they may or may not be happy with it. The website may or may not be updated. The designer might ghost them. Very difficult to maintain over time or expensive. They don't even know where their domain is registered, and this is supposed
Right.
to be on the other side of the spectrum. We saw authors going to the WordPress, Squarespace, Wixes of the world, which
Hmm.
are magical tools, unbelievable, always getting better too. And they're amazing tools, but they're not built just for authors.
Right.
And we knew that being a bookstore, having the access to the metadata around books, and
Hmm.
also understanding how to merchandise books and present books in the right way, we had an opportunity. So, what we built is the Tertulia for Authors website builder. And it is a magical tool where you put in one of your ISBNs and we pull in all of the data for your book or books and generate your website in minutes. And it's a draft website that you build on and customize and make your own. So you saw from the demo, couldn't be easier. We are building on top of this product every 2 weeks or less, coming out with refactors to make it more intuitive and new features and have some really exciting stuff coming up down the road. So that was a really big leap forward for us in terms of what we saw was an unmet need for authors.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things about that is, again, not only is it just so easy to make and it's customizable, but in a way that's very intuitive and user friendly, but You mentioned having access to the metadata and the issue of authors are going to be doing several things, right? So you create a website, you publish one book. Most authors go on to publish more. Um, Having all that easily updated in a way that you don't have to go back to a web developer or a manager or somebody who you worked with freelance, and like having all of that just be as easy as possible to keep your website updated. Again, that's something that for me, so I have a website for the editing that I do and everything, and every time I change something, I have to remind myself and remember to go update my website, and I have to go into the editor and open all that up. And so I can see from an author's perspective, um, or anyone's perspective, really, like you said, like we're authors, we're not marketers, we're authors, we're not web developers. Like we're really good at this, and then in order to really have that increase your book's reach and to really do with it what you dreamed of it being, you have to wear all of these other hats, and that takes time and effort and money. And so just in that alone of not having to worry about your website for your being an author, uh, having to continually worry about whether it's updated, that's a big one.
Exactly. I mean, we've built this to be very modular. So maybe
Hmm.
you're ready to launch, but you're not ready to blog. The first time you put in your first blog post, we automatically create the section for you. No, we're living in a no code world. Like there's no world in which you should need to figure out how to add a blog to your menu.
Hmm.
Same with your events calendar. Make it it's super, super simple. And then in terms of just, getting that base foundation of all of your books data, optimizing for an email collection and contact form, all that stuff, we have done what is in what we have seen to be the must-haves for the author.
Hmm.
And then built on more bells and whistles, design customizations for people who then are ready to start experimenting and putting their own DNA on their site. But I think that that ease of use has been the thing that has completely delighted authors. And they're so, we're literally getting like love letters from authors who are so so fed up with tools that are not so easy to use and create friction for both maintaining and even just getting started up when they feel a little intimidated.
Yeah.
And yeah, have a long to-do list of things on their plate as an author.
Right. Absolutely. And like, so I don't know if we've specifically listed them yet, but what are some of the tools on the website builders? You mentioned there's a blog, you mentioned you have an events calendar if you have like any in-person signings or things like that. What are some of the other kind of features of the website builder that kind of make that as easy as possible for authors to have that presence?
Absolutely. So there's the base information, which is your book description, a great, juicy tagline about your book, the book, covers and all of that. Reviews. Now, if you
Mhm.
have reviews in your metadata, we pull all of those in for you and we create a separate landing page where they are collected in a beautiful, orderly fashion. If you do not have reviews in your metadata, you can very easily manually update them, and tons of our authors do that on an ongoing basis.
How would an
Then we
author know if they do have reviews in the metadata?
It's a great question. Well, if they have a publisher,
Uh-huh.
they can consult with their publisher. They can look at their, page on any retailer and take a look.
Okay.
And their publisher should be adding those to their metadata. There's obviously a long spectrum of how sophisticated people are about that, and something we'd love to get more education out there about.
Hmm.
Um, and if you are self-published, you yourself have set up the book in KDP or in Grimm Spark, and so you have the opportunity to add to that metadata. So you should know that. Of course, not every author does know that because maybe they're getting started or not used to it, and there's a lot of
Right.
steps involved in that process. So it is a bit of an education, but if you don't see the reviews pulled in when
Yeah.
we import the book, you can add them
Hmm.
as you with purchase links, and you can customize how you want. You want your local bookstore, you want Spotify, you don't want Amazon, you only want Tertulia and Barnes and Noble. You have a lot of flexibility there too.
Hmm.
Now that's the base layer.
Hmm.
On top of that, you've got email collection, which we have defaulted on because we feel so strongly about it. Everything's customizable and flexible. If you want to hide your email collection, you can. You want to change the messaging, you can. And then we also offer a reader magnet. And for those who don't know what a reader magnet is, it is a piece of exclusive content that you offer as an incentive to your readers or website visitors to sign up for your email list, and
Mhm.
we handle the send on that.
So that's like,
And
for example, maybe like the first two chapters of their book sent for free.
a
Okay. Yeah.
chapter, maybe a personal letter, maybe an excerpt, maybe a sneak peek.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. We also know that that base layer is enough for some authors to get started. And in terms of engaging readers and getting them to come back to the site,
Hmm.
they need easy tools. Because again, that's not an easy thing to keep going, that keep that engine going. The blog is super simple to use. We
Hmm.
automatically add the first post to your homepage, which you can hide if you want to. We add a new page for your blog, pictures, YouTube embeds, etc.
Hmm.
Events calendar could not be easier. We also showcase that on your homepage and in your menu. And recently, last 2 months or so, we launched unlimited custom pages. So if you have a coaching business, you can include your coaching business. You have book club discussion questions because that's
Hmm.
really important to you to get your book out to book clubs. Maybe you've got writings published elsewhere that are not in book format.
Hmm.
Maybe you've got sample chapters. A lot of people are showing their, enterprises, if they're nonfiction authors who are really using their books to kind of elevate their enterprise or their brand. Fiction authors are using it for maybe more color around the world building that they're doing,
Hmm.
extra content. Obviously, if you're a poet or short story writer, that's an opportunity as
Right.
well. You can use it for a media kit. So lots of flexibility. You can hide the pages to make them landing pages. You can link them off from your main nav. And the beautiful thing about all of this is it's so easy,
Yeah.
not easier. So I think those are the big ones. We also have an interest in expanding the tools that we are offering on the marketing front.
Hmm.
So that's around email marketing, as I mentioned. We've got some exciting stuff in the pipeline where you'll be able to send email directly from the product. Social media posts. Right now, you can set up tracking pixels if you run ads on Amazon or
Hmm.
elsewhere. So, we've got big ambitions for how to expand this service, but we are already seeing that our entrepreneurial authors are doing lots of fun stuff, making their home pages. We have a banner functionality, and it's a delight to see how personalized and unique authors are in making these sites their own.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I was really excited to reach out to you guys. I had heard about the website builder from an author that I worked with, and I was like, I need to reach out to them. And then I got the demo and everything. And yeah, it's just, I feel like I'm a broken record by this point when I say it, but almost every single author I've worked with, either it's their least favorite part or the thing they didn't expect is just the marketing. How much marketing it takes, how much effort, how much time, how much money they can invest into it, and just like never knowing what to do fully or, all of that kind of stuff. I hear it from pretty much every author I've worked with. Just the marketing is one of the biggest beasts to tackle when it comes to being an author. And so when I heard about this website builder and then I got to see the demo and talk to you more about it, I'm really excited to kind of help bring people to this resource because I think it's going to be really, really helpful for a lot of people. Um,
Thank you for that.
yeah, of course. One of the things that you had touched on earlier, and that I know that I saw in your website, and I had it written down here, I wanted to ask about it. So, part of the appeal of being a co-op, right, is that there's a little bit of when you become a member as a reader, you have a little bit of an investment in the company itself. Do you want to explain a little bit about that? I think that's a really cool concept that people would be interested in hearing.
Absolutely. So when people find out about Tertulia, they love that concept and they are not signing up as members because they think, woo, I'm going to get rich becoming part owner in a online bookstore. That is not the sentiment. The sentiment is that books are such crucial DNA of our culture.
Hmm.
And that if you don't feel a personal connection to where you buy your books, this is not toilet paper and the aforementioned toilet paper and light bulbs. This is books, and that romantic experience of browsing in a bookstore and that serendipity is often something so compromised online and that we're trying so much to recreate. And we think part of that is also you feeling invested in it.
Right.
And so being a member of the co-op, you're actually in essence indirectly owning part of the company because the co-op owns shares in Tertulia Inc. So that's how it's set up.
Mhm. So, as far more of a personal note now, so we talked a little bit about Tertulia.com, Tertulia for authors. More of a little bit of a personal note. One of the questions I always love asking is for you embarking on this journey, building this, right? Being one of the three original co-founders and working on creating these resources for authors, creating this environment around books, selling them, discovering them. Um, how has working on all of this? Maybe change your perspective on things, either in your personal life, how you view work, how you view books. Um, yeah, this seems like it's been, I can tell that there's a lot of heart behind this. How have you seen that change your personal life?
I have always had books in my life, came from a big book reading family, spent a lot of time at the library, worked in publishing throughout when I was in college, worked in an indie bookstore, which was fairly life-changing, I think, as a teenager and onwards. And so it's no surprise that I ended up doing this. Um, I think maybe what's changed is that we're living at this in this time. If I read another article about the death of reading, right?
Mm,
And there's certainly a counter to that, right? The vibrant discovery of books happening with young people on Book Talk, and
yeah.
that's also a counter narrative, which I love. But there's also a lot of discussion around how our reliance on scrolling and short length content and now the immediacy of answers and researching on answer engines and AI platforms
Yep. Hmm.
will threaten reading. I think I just feel a bit more of a sense of purpose, right?
Mm,
I mean, I think, I'm a person who feels motivated by doing work with a sense of purpose. And of course, this was a dream job when I started doing it because of that, because I care about books and I also just find it very fun,
hmm.
meaningful. It's exciting to talk to my children about what I do because they see that reading is important to me and I want that to be instilled in them. But I think in the greater kind of cultural environment, um, depth of thinking, focus on storytelling and long form storytelling and kind of luxuriating in narratives and worlds that you can get lost in through reading and how that affects your um, kind of cognitive development, your mood, your mental health, your emotional health. All those things I think are they're meaningful. And I
Hmm.
think to do work that can support that without sounding too kind of self-righteous, but in my own small way, means a lot to me. And I think, there's a lot of things that our technology team could be building, right? We have an incredible world-class team of engineers and product developers. Sebastian, my co-founder, Robert, built the world's greatest art market, online art market site, Artsy. They could be doing a lot of things with their time and they care about this as well.
Hmm.
And I think that's something that I have seen, even though we don't talk about that publicly. I'm talking about it now on this podcast, but it's not something that's kind of part of our marketing or, it's just that we care about what we're building. But what's interesting is that I have seen the authors who are using our software feel some kinship to the fact that we also have a co-op bookstore and that we're
Hmm.
kind of brand that is supportive of all things books and reading. And I think that's meaningful to them too. So
Hmm.
that's been really nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. It's definitely something that I know that I've noticed. I've talked about with other people in my life, and just this idea that we are getting so far away from the benefits of delayed gratification. And I think or we're already seeing it, and I don't think it's going to be too much longer before it becomes even more apparent that when you stop investing in delayed gratification, you are going to automatically start impacting your creativity. Because to create things requires time, requires space, requires effort. And that's not to say that you can't come up with something, right, and make something in a very short amount of time. But most people, like we were talking about earlier, like you go through all the effort of writing this book. And normally that's a very long process. Like for some authors, it takes years. For some authors, it just takes months. But either way, that's a huge emotional, mental, physical time investment, resource investment. Um, and then on the other side of that, you have to go ahead and start tackling the marketing, right? And then actually creating the book. And so again, like these are long processes that if you are not able to fully embrace delayed gratification and getting that payoff at the end of like this is what I worked so hard for, um, that some of that creativity starts to go away. And it's the same thing that you were talking about with that with AI and those technologies that are coming out that are making it in some ways easier to do things and in other ways beneficial and in some ways detrimental. And I think it's really cool just hearing you talk about it. It kind of clicked for me where technology, I think, in a lot of ways, like I said, it can be very beneficial and can also be detrimental. And focusing on how we can use technology to support our creative endeavors, to support our work endeavors. AI is kind of like, the Pandora's box is open, it's here. There's been lots of, discussion and articles and people talking about is this a net good? Is this a net bad? What does this mean for the workforce? How are we going to see industries change as a result of AI? And I think that's inevitable, right? The question is what kind of guardrails are we going to, as a market, put up to make sure that we are using it in a good way? And what I see from what you guys are doing here is that you are not afraid to utilize the good technology, right? Technology for good purposes to promote these things that we don't want to lose as a society, as these creative endeavors, being passionate about things, going deeper into things, not being afraid of those processes, not being afraid of the delayed gratification, and figuring out how we can use technologies to support those and bolster them so we don't lose those things in society because it's always going to be there. The technology is always going to be there. Like I said, it's Pandora's box. It's here. But we have to decide how we want to implement that and what guardrails we use to make sure that we don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. So yeah, I
Well
think
said. I couldn't agree more. And I think, the book is the best, oldest technology still around as far as
yes,
I'm concerned.
yeah.
So let's preserve that. And I'm thrilled about the opportunities that AI is now affording us, even in the last, obviously in the last year and 6 months, but even at Tertulia. And we're exploring all of these really exciting capabilities to make the job of the author easier and make the experience of the reader better. And I think that you really did hit the nail on the head where you said you do all of that, but you can't lose
Hmm.
that um the heart of like what is the originality of storytelling that we want to preserve, one, and two, I think it's really well said that if we lose our ability to delay gratification, we've lost something very inherently human.
Hmm.
So I completely agree.
Yeah. Um, how has so now you are 5 years into Tertulia, is that correct? Yeah. So now that you're 5 years in, you guys are starting this whole new endeavor with Tertulia for authors. Even like making strides in changing that on you said like less than every 2 weeks kind of thing, making updates and changes to it. Intentions for more things down the road. Tertulia has done incredibly well in just these 5 years. Um, maybe so I think the question I'm trying to ask here is what have you been surprised by in starting this company, right, and where you are now? What's been the thing that you were like, wow, I did not expect that, but I'm glad we're here?
One thing I didn't expect was how important and valuable our the content that we produce on tertulia.com by a human team has been.
Mm,
So I thought, oh, well, this is a nice to have, or we live in a world of content marketing, and what really might resonate for people is their personalization engine. But you know what? High quality content about
mm,
books, articles, and lists that are thoughtful and unique and funny and fun. There is lots of great stuff out there, but there's less and less of it that's updated just simply because the book review sections have shrunk and, the traditional
mm,
media is under such duress. So that's been a delight to see how much that engages our readers, our members, and frankly, sells books too. So
hmm.
that's That's been great. And on the author side, there's an explosion happening in self-publishing. And
Yes.
yeah, I think one thing that is, I don't know if it's surprising so much as really interesting, is to see the very broad range of authors who are writing books and the broad range of skills that they have to take those books out to market and develop their audiences. And it can be surprising sometimes the people that have, really kind of big professional profile, but they really don't know what they're doing when it comes to promoting their books. And they need a lot of help. And
Hmm.
then there's other people who don't come from any kind of marketing or professional background or anything like that, and they have a natural knack for how to get their books out there and find audiences and engage with their readers. So it's just really fun and interesting to see. And what's really impressive and delightful is just how passionate how so many of the self-published authors we work with are about their books and about making their work shine.
Hmm.
And it's for people with families and full-time jobs, or maybe multiple full-time jobs in many cases, not all cases, sometimes they're not, but they're finding time and bandwidth to dedicate to this, and it's beautiful to see.
Hmm. Yeah, I think the sentiment, and we'll wrap up here in a minute, but I think the sentiment I'm being left with after this amazing discussion is just how amazing books are. They're this very unique but old thing that somehow manages to like deeply inspire people, deeply move them. We become so passionate about them. And so I don't, this conversation has left me feeling very inspired for the book world to come. I think we're seeing a lot of people starting to reinvest in books, reinvest in reading. Um, and yeah, when I see how deeply it impacts people and how passionate everyone is about, preserving books to the best that we can, and this explosion of finding newer, younger readers, and I feel this conversation has left me feeling very hopeful about where all this will be going.
I am hopeful as well. You had mentioned, you had asked me if I had any pet peeves when it came to books. And I don't think
Oh,
I did, because I don't mind if people dog ear pages or don't give me a book back after they lend it. I thought that was a funny question because so many people have pet peeves. I don't know what the opposite of a pet peeve is, but let's say it's a um, pet pleasure. For me, it is that book recommendations from to somebody when
Mhm.
they actually listen to you and they are
Yeah,
personal, right? This isn't just, oh, this is my favorite book. This is for you, Grace.
right.
They actually act on that. You say books are awesome and magical. That power of two people being able to discuss a world that they travel to, just the two of you,
Mm,
discuss those reference points, and the intimacy in that is so powerful and amazing. And there's really nothing like quite like it. I mean, watching a movie together is, of course, magical in its own way.
mhm,
But because so much of the book happens in here and in your
mhm,
imagination and in your heart, and to share that kind of force field with somebody else is so wonderful. I think that it's something that I feel strongly about trying to preserve, whether that's through just the vitality of books and thus book sales, or the um, encouraging vibrant book discussion. So I couldn't agree more that it's something in, our lifetime right now that is so filled with uncertainty and change,
right.
that is an age-old pleasure and uniquely human pleasure.
Yeah. You mentioned movies. It reminded me in another conversation that I've had recently, we were kind of feeling out maybe why. So you've got the two camps, right? With like the book was better versus like books and movies, like it's not worth it to try to compare them kind of thing. Um, and it was interesting because I've noticed, at least in myself personally, if I read the book first and I feel like the movie didn't do it justice, I'm a lot more likely to dislike the movie. If I watch the movie first and then read the book, I'm a lot more likely to see them as distinct works and not feel as, personally invested in whether or not I feel like the book was done justice. And I think we discussed that one of the reasons for that might be that you spend so much more time with a book. You can binge it in a night, right? But it's usually multiple hours, depending on the length of the book. But a lot of people will read it, every night, and it'll take them weeks or months to finish a book. And in that time, it's in your head. You're living it out. You're finding such unique personal insight into the book. You're experiencing something entirely unique to you and how you are reading that book. But then you get to go and share it with somebody who has glimpses of those same experiences, but yet it's personal to how they read it and what they experienced and what they're going through. And so books are just, like you said, I think they're a completely unique art form that has so much potential to just relate to people, to connect us on a certain level. We're all reading the same book, but we all have vastly different experiences while reading it. And I don't think there's anything out there that's quite like that, the way that you have to invest in a book to get that kind of payoff.
So immersive. I agree. And I think that's like where this mission to support authors come in is
Hmm.
not only that delayed gratification for the reader, that is unbelievable delayed gratification for the author who's
Yes.
creating for us.
Hmm. Absolutely. Well, this has been a wonderful discussion. I'm so grateful to have you on. I'm so glad to help, bring Tertulia to a new audience. Is there anything else that you'd like to say in wrapping up here?
If you're an author, you absolutely must go try authors.tertulia.com, even if you don't even need a website right now. It is actually fun. Could it be fun to create a website? Yes, it's so much fun. And I hope that you'll try it out and do a free trial and send us feedback. We love to hear feedback. We're constantly refactoring things based on what authors have told us. And we get lots of amazing ideas and input. So would love to hear from you all on that. And of course, on tertulia.com anytime.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Linda. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Future Grace popping in here for a quick moment. I realized when finalizing this episode that I had forgotten to ask Linda for her 2 to 3 book recommendations for our listeners. So I reached out to Linda, who was very, very gracious, and sent me her recommendations via email. I'm going to read them off to our listeners now. Her first book recommendation is Memoirs of Hadrian by the great Marguerite Yourcenar. She says, "This is such a classic that will live on forever. It truly helps you see power through the eyes of a Roman emperor, but also the human experience of suffering and of love and the challenges of leadership." Her second book is The Flamethrowers by Rachel Kushner. She says, "As for novels, this is one of my favorites. Its vivid storytelling is enough to make any reader inspired to inject life each day with much more living and intrigue." These both sound like great additions to our recommended readings list, which will be released in entirety at the end of season 1 of Between the Edits, so that will be likely early December. And as a close to this episode, I want to take this moment to remind anyone who has gotten to this point and thinks that they are interested in checking out the Tertulia for Authors website builder. We do have an affiliate link in the description of this podcast, and we would greatly appreciate it if you would sign up for their services through that link so that you can help support this podcast. I hope you enjoyed this podcast and stay tuned for episode 4 releasing next Tuesday. I'll see you in the next episode.